Commander Lee Minho pressed his face against the thick glass of the observation deck, watching the alien ships grow larger in the darkness of space. They looked like giant metal spiders, their hulls covered in sharp edges and glowing weapons. The hegemony had finally found them. "Sir, they're getting closer," said Lieutenant Park Ji-won from behind him. Her voice shook a little, but she tried to sound brave. "Should we send out the distress signal?" Minho shook his head slowly. "Not yet. We need to wait for the right moment." Kepler Station had been humanity's secret outpost for 15 years. Hidden in the darkness between stars, it looked like a simple mining facility. Aliens thought humans were just digging for rocks and metals. They had no idea what was really happening here. The first blast hit the station's shields like a hammer. The lights flickered, and everyone grabbed onto something to keep from falling. Through the speakers, they could hear the alien commander's voice, cold and mean. "Surrender now, humans. Your pathetic species ends today." Minho almost smiled. Aliens thought they were so smart, so powerful. They had destroyed 3 human colonies already, burning them to ash. The galaxy watched in fear as the hegemony moved from system to system, killing anyone who wouldn't bow down to them, but they didn't know about the real plan. Another blast shook the station. This time, sparks flew from the control panels. Lieutenant Park ran to check the damage while Minho walked to the secret communication room. His hands were steady as he typed in the special codes that only a few humans knew. Package delivered. He spoke into the microphone. Coordinates confirmed. Heaven, help us all. The message shot across space faster than light, reaching hidden receivers on 1,000 different worlds. On Earth, deep underground, computers began to wake up. On the moon, massive doors started to open. On Mars, weapons that had been sleeping. 4 decades began to charge their power cells. The aliens kept shooting at Kepler Station. They thought they were destroying another weak human outpost. They had no idea they were about to wake up the most dangerous species in the galaxy. "Sir, the hull is breaking," Park shouted over the noise of alarms. "We need to evacuate now." Minho nodded and hit the evacuation button. All around the station, escape pods shot out into space like seeds from a flower. The aliens let them go. Why waste ammunition on fleeing humans when there were bigger targets to destroy? But Minho didn't get into an escape pod. Instead, he went deeper into the station, to a room that didn't exist on any official map. Inside, banks of computers showed him what was happening across the galaxy. Every human mining station was sending the same signal. Every research base was powering up. Every trading post was revealing its true purpose. The aliens thought humans were weak because they ran away from fights. They thought humans were stupid because they built their bases in dangerous places. They thought humans were cowards because they always tried to talk instead of fight. They were wrong about everything, Minho. Watch the screens as the station fell apart around him. The aliens were celebrating, thinking they had won another easy victory. Their commander was probably already planning which human world to attack next, but in a few hours, when the signal reached Earth, everything would change. The aliens would learn that humans weren't prey. They weren't weak. They weren't defenseless. Humans were the most paranoid species in the galaxy. And when you're paranoid, you prepare for everything. The station's hull finally cracked open like an egg. Air rushed out into space, and the lights went dark. But Minho's work was done. The message had been sent. The coordinates were locked in. The trap was set. As his escape pod shot away from the dying station, Minho looked back at the alien fleet. They were still celebrating, still thinking they had won. Their ships were big and scary, covered in weapons that could burn planets. But they had made one terrible mistake. They had attacked humanity's children. And now they were going to learn what happened when you made. Earth angry. The escape pod's engines carried him toward the outer system, where a rescue ship was waiting. Behind him, Kepler Station exploded in a ball of fire. The aliens cheered and moved on to their next target. They had no idea that in a few hours the sky would light up with Earth's answer. They had no idea that every human base they had ignored was actually a fortress. They had no idea that the moon itself was hollow, filled with weapons that could crack planets in half. most of all, they had no idea that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their courage. It was their fear. Because when humans got scared, they didn't just run away. They prepared for war. Admiral Vexahan floated in his command chair, looking down at the blue and green planet below. Earth spun slowly like a child's toy, so small and helpless. His massive fleet surrounded it like hungry wolves around a lamb. "The humans have stopped fighting," reported his tactical officer, clicking his mandibles with satisfaction. "All their colonies are sending surrender messages." Vexahan laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Of course they are. Words always give up when they see real power." The alien fleet was enormous. Hundreds of ships, each one bigger than a human city. Their weapons could turn planets into dust. Their shields could stop anything humans might throw at them. The hegemony had conquered 50 worlds with this same fleet. "Sir, incoming transmission from the human government," his communications officer announced. A human face appeared on the main screen. The man looked tired and scared. "This is President Chen of Earth. We surrender. Or please don't hurt our people." Vexahan's 3 eyes gleamed with pleasure. "Smart choice, human. Prepare your world for occupation." The transmission ended, and the bridge crew laughed. Another weak species had fallen to the mighty hegemony. Soon, Earth would be just another slave world, its people working in mines and factories, but far below. In a place the aliens couldn't see, something very different was happening. Dr. Kim Sora stood in a room 3 kilometers under the ground. The walls were covered with screens showing numbers and graphs. Around her, hundreds of people worked at computers, all of them very quiet, all of them very focused. "Seismic readings are normal," reported Captain Choi Daeho from his station. "All systems show green across the board." Sora nodded, but her hands were shaking. She had been preparing for this day for 20 years. Every human scientist had been preparing. Every engineer, every soldier, every person who knew the secret. Signal from Luna Base called out technician Yang Hanna. "They report ready status." "Mars Base confirms ready," added another voice. "Titan Base is online. Europa Base standing by." One by one, the reports came in. From every moon, every asteroid, every hidden base that the aliens thought was just for mining. The truth was finally coming out. Above ground, the aliens saw Earth as a peaceful world full of farmers and artists. They saw humans as a young species that had barely learned to travel between stars. They saw the solar system as an easy prize to claim. They were looking at the biggest trap in galactic history. "All Fortress worlds report ready," announced Major Park Sunwoo from the Mars Communication Center. "The galaxy is ours." Sora took a deep breath. Round her, screens showed the real Earth, not the peaceful farms and cities the aliens could see, but the massive machines hidden beneath the surface. Giant elevators that could lift weapons the size of mountains. Underground factories that had been building in secret for decades. Power plants that could light up half the galaxy. "Dr. Sora," said Captain Choi, "we're detecting movement in the alien fleet. They're positioning themselves for orbital bombardment." "Perfect," Sora whispered. "They're exactly where we want them." The aliens had made their biggest mistake. They had brought their entire fleet close to Earth, thinking they were safe. They had no idea that every human world was connected by quantum communication. They had no idea that when one human base was attacked, every other base knew about it instantly. Most importantly, they had no idea that humans had been planning for this war for over a century. "Final systems check," Sora ordered. "All stations report. Pacific platform ready. Atlantic platform ready. Indian platform ready. Arctic platform ready. Luna base ready. Mars base ready." The list went on and on. Every continent, every ocean, every moon in the solar system. All of them hiding weapons that could punch holes through reality itself. Admiral Vexahan was still celebrating on his flagship, completely unaware that he was sitting in the middle of the most dangerous kill zone ever created. His sensors couldn't detect the weapons hidden beneath Earth's crust. His scouts couldn't see the gun barrels camouflaged as moon craters. "Sir," his science officer called out, We're detecting some unusual energy readings from the planet. Vexahan waved a dismissive claw. Probably their primitive power plants shutting down. Humans always break their own equipment when they panic. But the energy readings were getting stronger. Deep beneath the Earth, fusion reactors the size of cities were warming up. On the moon, magnetic accelerators longer than continents were charging their coils. In the asteroid belt, mining lasers were turning toward the alien fleet. Dr. Sora, Captain Choi said quietly, "We have lock on all targets." Sora looked at the main screen, where Admiral Vexahan's flagship hung in space like a fat, ugly bug. Soon, it would be nothing but scrap metal and regret. "All stations, this is command," she spoke into her microphone. "Prepare for Arsenal Protocol. Activation. Show them what happens when you threaten humanity's children." The quiet before the storm was ending. The storm itself was about to begin. Admiral Vexahan stared at his tactical display, confusion replacing his earlier confidence. The energy readings from Earth were getting stronger by the minute. Red warning lights blinked across his ship's control panels. "Sir, these readings don't match anything in our database," his science officer reported, his voice nervous. Da. "Humans are generating massive amounts of power beneath their planet's surface." Vexahan's three eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Our scouts surveyed this system for months. Earth is a primitive world with simple technology, but the numbers didn't lie. Deep beneath the planet's crust, something enormous was waking up. The energy signatures were unlike anything the hegemony had ever seen. Power levels that could light up entire star systems were building beneath what they thought was a defenseless world. Admiral called his communications officer. "We're receiving strange signals from the outer system. The asteroid bases we destroyed earlier, they're still transmitting." "What do you mean still transmitting?" Vexahan demanded. "We turned them into space dust." On the main screen, data streams showed impossible readings. They had destroyed were somehow still active. The research bases they had blown up were still sending signals. Every human outpost in the galaxy was talking to each other in a language the aliens couldn't understand. Lieutenant Colonel Park Sun-woo's voice crackled across the intercepted communications from Mars. "All Fortress worlds report ready. The galaxy is ours." Fortress worlds. The words sent a chill through Vexahan's spine. The humans hadn't been building mining stations at all. They had been building weapons platforms. Every single base, every asteroid colony, every research station was actually a hidden fortress. "Sir, we're detecting massive movement beneath Earth's oceans," reported the sensor operator. "Something big is rising from the seafloor." Through the ship's windows, Vexahan could see the first signs of what was coming. The calm blue oceans of Earth began to churn and bubble. Huge shapes moved beneath the water, pushing toward the surface like sleeping giants waking up. "This is impossible," Vexahan whispered.
"How did they hide all this from our scouts?"
The answer was becoming terrifyingly clear. The humans had been planning this for decades, maybe centuries. Every time they built a new base, every time they expanded to a new world, they had been preparing for war. Not the kind of war the hegemony knew, with ships fighting ships in open space. This was something much worse. "Admiral," his tactical officer shouted, "look at the moon." Vexahan turned to see Earth's natural satellite beginning to crack. Long lines appeared across its surface, glowing with internal light. The moon wasn't just a moon at all. It was hollow, filled with weapons that made the hegemony's dreadnoughts look like toys. "They've been preparing for us," he realized with growing horror. "Every human colony, every base, every outpost. They're all weapons platforms. The intercepted communications. We're getting clearer now. Human voices from across the galaxy, all coordinating the same plan. Captain Nayuna from the Centauri system, Major Kim Tae-young from the Vega colonies, Lieutenant Colonel Osaman from the Andromeda outposts. They were all soldiers. Every human civilian base was actually a military fortress in disguise. New contacts appearing on sensors, the tactical officer reported. Thousands of them, all around the system. The asteroid belt was coming alive. Rocks that had seemed dead and empty were suddenly bristling with weapons. Mining platforms were transforming into gun batteries. Research stations were revealing missile launchers the size of city blocks. How long have they been planning this? Vexahan asked no one in particular. The answer came from an intercepted transmission from Earth's command center. Dr. Kim Sora's voice was calm and professional. Arsenal. Protocol has been in development for 137 years. All systems are now active. 137 years. Longer than most alien species had known about humanity's existence. The humans had been preparing for this war since before they had even met the hegemony. Admiral, the energy readings are off the charts, his science officer reported. Whatever they're powering up down there, it's beyond our understanding. Through the ship's sensors, Vexahan could see the truth. Earth's continents were shifting, revealing massive structures beneath the surface. The oceans were rising as enormous. Platforms pushed up from the depths. The polar ice caps were melting, not from heat, but from the vibrations of giant machines coming online. They made us think they were weak, Vexahan realized. They wanted us to bring our entire fleet here. The trap was perfect. The hegemony had positioned their ships exactly where the humans wanted them. Close enough to Earth to seem threatening, but far enough away that they couldn't escape quickly. The entire fleet was sitting in a kill zone that humanity had spent over a century preparing. Sir, should we retreat? Asked his tactical officer. Vexahan looked at his fleet disposition. His ships were scattered around the Earth-Moon system, thinking they were in a position of strength. Instead, they were surrounded by the most sophisticated weapons network ever created. It's too late, he whispered. They've been waiting for us to come here. This whole system is a trap. The revelation hit him like a physical blow. Humanity wasn't the prey, they were the hunters. And the hegemony had just walked into their carefully prepared ambush. The ocean floor around Earth began to split open like a giant flower blooming. Admiral Vexahan watched in horror as massive metal structures rose from the depths, water cascading off their surfaces like waterfalls. These weren't ships or platforms. They were weapons bigger than his entire fleet. What are those things? He whispered, his three eyes wide with fear. His science officer's voice shook as he read the sensor data. Sir, they're railguns. Each one is over 50 kilometers long. They're pointing directly at us. The first shot came without warning. A projectile moving at nearly the speed of light tore through the hegemony's flagship escorts like they were made of paper. The massive alien dreadnoughts, which had terrorized dozens of worlds, simply vanished in balls of superheated plasma. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Vexahan screamed into his communicator. But there was nowhere to run. The weapons were everywhere. From Earth's surface, more structures emerged. Mountain ranges split apart to reveal gun barrels that stretched to the horizon. Cities that had looked peaceful and quiet were actually camouflaged weapon platforms. Even the farmlands were fake, hiding missile silos beneath fields of artificial crops. Admiral, look at the moon, his tactical officer shouted. Vexahan turned to see Earth's satellite opening like a mechanical egg. The moon's surface peeled back in sections, revealing the most terrifying sight in the galaxy. The entire interior was hollow, filled with weapons that defied imagination. Particle beam cannons that could crack planets, gravity manipulators that could crush stars, energy weapons that bent space itself. Impossible, Vexahan breathed. The moon is artificial. They built it. The truth was, even worse. Humans had spent centuries hollowing out their moon, turning it into the ultimate fortress. Every crater on its surface was actually a gun barrel. Every mountain was a weapon emplacement. The entire thing was one massive space station disguised as a natural satellite. General Han Junho's voice echoed across all frequencies from Earth's command center. All fortress worlds, you are cleared to engage. Show them what humans do when cornered. The galaxy lit up like a fireworks display. Every human base that the hegemony had ignored suddenly revealed its true purpose. The mining station in the Centauri system opened fire with weapons that could punch holes through reality. The research base near Vega launched missiles that moved faster than light itself. The trading post in the Andromeda region deployed energy shields that could stop supernovas. Sir, we're receiving damage reports from across the fleet, his communications officer reported. The 7th Squadron is completely destroyed. The 3rd Battle Group is down to 30% strength. Vexahan's tactical display showed the terrible truth. His mighty fleet was being torn apart by weapons they had never seen before. The humans hadn't just prepared for war, they had revolutionized it. How did they develop this technology? Demanded the answer came from intercepted human communications. Captain Kim Tae-young's voice from the Vega defense grid. 100 years of research finally paying off. Every scientist, every engineer, every person who knew the secret. The humans had spent an entire century developing weapons in secret. While the hegemony had been conquering other worlds, humanity had been preparing for the day when the conquerors would come for them. Admiral, the asteroid belt is moving, the sensor operator screamed. Vexahan looked up to see the most impossible sight of all. The entire asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter was artificial. Every single rock was actually a disguised weapons platform. Thousands of them, all turning toward the alien fleet like predators sensing prey. They turned their entire solar system into a weapon, he realized. The asteroids opened fire simultaneously. Beams of coherent energy lanced through space, each one capable of destroying a battleship. The hegemony fleet, which had seemed so powerful just hours ago, was being systematically dismantled by weapons they couldn't understand. Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can count them, reported his tactical officer. The humans have weapons we've never seen before. On his command screen, Vexahan could see the coordinated attack. Every human base in the galaxy was working together, sharing, targeting data, coordinating their strikes. It was like fighting a single organism with 10,000 different weapons. Emergency retreat, he ordered. All ships fall back to the outer system. But it was too late. The humans had planned for this too. As the surviving alien ships tried to escape, they found their path blocked by more weapons platforms. Planets were all hollow, filled with defensive systems. Even the comets were artificial, hiding fusion bombs that could destroy entire fleets. Admiral, we're trapped, his navigation officer reported. They've surrounded the entire solar system. Vexahan slumped in his command chair, watching his fleet die around him. The humans had done something no other species had ever managed. They had turned their entire territory into a single, massive weapon. How many ships do we have left? He asked weakly. Less than 100, sir? Out of over 2,000? Duh. The mighty hegemony fleet, which had conquered half the galaxy, was being destroyed by a species they had thought was weak and primitive. The humans had played the ultimate trick, appearing defenseless while secretly building the most powerful military force in galactic history. Admiral Vexahan's flagship drifted through space like a dying whale, its hull cracked in bleeding atmosphere. Around him, the once mighty hegemony fleet was nothing but scattered wreckage and emergency beacons. Less than 50 ships remained from the 2,000 that had come to conquer Earth. Sir, incoming transmission from the human planet. His communications officer reported, his voice barely a whisper. Vexahan nodded weakly. His 3 eyes were dim, his confidence shattered like glass. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life, showing a human face that Vexahan recognized. Commander Lee Minho, the same human they had supposedly killed at Kepler Station. But he was very much alive, sitting in what looked like a command center built inside the moon itself. Hello, Admiral Minho, said calmly. I believe we need to talk. You're supposed to be dead, Vexahan managed to say. Minho smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. A lot of things aren't what they seem, Admiral. That's something your people never understood about humans. Behind Minho, Vexahan could see dozens of other humans working at control stations, all of them wearing military uniforms, all of them coordinating the weapons that had just destroyed the greatest fleet in galactic history. You thought we were prey, Minho continued. You thought we were weak. You thought it was done when you attacked our outer colonies. But you never understood what humans do when we're afraid. On the screen, tactical displays showed the true scope of humanity's preparation. Every star system with human presence was actually a fortress. Every mining station was a weapons platform. Every research base was a military installation in disguise. "We prepare," Minho said simply, "and we've been afraid of species like you for a very long time." Captain Nayuna's voice came through the communication system from the Centauri defense grid. "All Fortress worlds report successful engagement. Enemy fleet neutralized." Major Kim Tae-young from the Vega weapons platform added, "No survivors in our sector. The few ships that escaped are running for deep space." Lieutenant Colonel Osoman from the Andromeda outpost, same here. "They won't be coming back." Vexahan listened to the reports with growing horror. The humans had fortress worlds everywhere. Every place they had established colonies, they had built weapons. The entire galaxy was filled with hidden human military bases. "How long?" he asked quietly. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since the day we first detected your empire," Minho replied. 150 years ago, when our deep space telescopes saw you burning the Kiltari homeworld, we knew you would come for us eventually." The screen showed images from across human space. On every world, weapons platforms were emerging from hiding. Giant space stations that had been disguised as asteroids. Battleships that had been camouflaged as civilian transports. An entire military fleet that had been hiding in plain sight. "You see, Admiral, every species you've conquered made the same mistake. They tried to fight you with ships and armies. They tried to match your strength with their strength." Minho leaned forward. "But humans are different. We don't fight fair. We cheat." Dr. Kim Sora's voice came through from Earth's command center. Arsenal protocol complete. All systems returning to standby mode. Vexahan watched in amazement as the massive weapons around Earth began to retract. The ocean-based railguns sank back beneath the waves. All the lunar weapon platforms closed their protective shells. The asteroid belt resumed its innocent appearance. "You're letting us go?" he asked, confused. "The survivors, yes," Minho said. "We want you to carry a message to the rest of the galaxy. Tell them what you found here. Tell them what happens when you threaten humanity's children." The few remaining hegemony ships began to move, heading for the edge of the solar system. They moved slowly, fearfully, expecting to be destroyed at any moment. "Tell them," Minho continued, "that Earth looks peaceful because we want it to. Tell them that our colonies seem defenseless because that's how we designed them to appear. Tell them that humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology or our courage." Vexahan waited, dreading the answer. "It's our paranoia," Minho said with that cold smile. "We've been preparing for this war since before we met you. Every human who went to space carried weapons. Every colony ship was also a battleship. Every research station was also a fortress." The transmission began to fade as Vexahan's damaged ship limped toward hyperspace. But Minho's final words followed him into the darkness. "And Admiral, if you or anyone else decides to try this again, remember one thing. Today, you only saw our defensive weapons. You never saw what we built for offense." The surviving hegemony ships disappeared into hyperspace, carrying word of their defeat across the galaxy. Behind them, Earth's weapon systems returned to their hiding places, waiting patiently for the next threat in the command center beneath the moon. Commander Lee Minho watched the alien ships flee. Around him, his people began shutting down the systems they had hoped never to use. "Think they'll spread the word?" asked Dr. Kim Sora. Minho nodded. "They will. And maybe now the rest of the galaxy will understand. Humanity doesn't look for fights. But when fights come looking for us, we're ready." The Arsenal slept once more, but its message was clear. Earth was not defenseless. It never had been.